Welcome, everyone. Hi, and happy Erev Shavuot to each and every one of you. This weekend is a month since the very tragic passing of my dear cousin, Rabbi Benny Wolf, who, together with his wife, are the shluchim in Hanover, Germany. And it was the last couple hours before his passing that his wife sat with him in his room at his bedside. And he passed away on early Friday night. And it was later on that night, after his passing, that she walked home to her children. And as she describes it, she says normally it's a 20-minute walk. But because of the darkness, not just the darkness of the night, but the darkness of the situation, she said it took her over an hour to get home. She struggled. She had to drag her feet because getting home, there was this huge dilemma. How would she share with her children who were expecting their father to get better and to be able to come home? How would she tell them that he's not coming home? What would she tell the community? Those that put in so many prayers and were so sure that their rabbi would get better and would be there to serve them and is not here anymore. But one thing she wasn't troubled about, and one thing that was so sure in her mind at that time was that she and her children are staying in Hanover, Germany to continue their mission and to fulfill the mission of their shlichut that they were sent there by the Lubavitcher Rebbe to accomplish and to service the Hanover Jewish community. Some might say that decision under those circumstances might have been a bit impulsive, haven't thought through what the future might look like. But as she says, there was no question in her mind that is the way it was going to be. And it was that conviction that goaded her to make that decision, even though the darkness of the moment, and it was a conviction that they made, and they are staying there. Now, this idea of making impulsive decisions is nothing new to Judaism. As a matter of fact, it's part of what we celebrate on Shavuos. There's a famous story in the Talmud, I'm not going to get into all the details, about the great sage Rava, who one time a heretic criticized him about a situation and referred to him as, you are from the Amma Paziza, the impulsive nation. And it goes on to describe what is he referring to. He's referring to the Jewish people standing at the foot of Sinai and saying Naaseh v'nishma. When God asked them, will they accept the Torah? Will they become God's people? They said, we will do and we will listen. Meaning we have this commitment and conviction to do and to be connected to God regardless of what it says in the Torah. And that is what we're celebrating on Shavuos. And some might argue that intellectually that makes no sense. Who signs on the dotted line before reading the details of the contract? But that is really what our conviction and our relationship to God is all about, and what Shavuos is all about. The Rebbe has mentioned many times that the holiday of Shavuos is connected to three great shepherds of the Jewish people. The first one is Moses. Moses got us the Torah, the Luchos, the tablets on Shavuos. The second is King David. David HaMelech, his yahrzeit is on Shavuos. And also the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, his yahrzeit is also on Shavuos. Now it's interesting also that these three greats have a reference, if you want to say, or are connected. We find certain impulsive behavior connected with these three greats. The first one, Moses. There's many times in the Torah we see certain types of actually positive impulsive behavior, but one of the greatest acts that he did impulsively was the shattering of the tablets. When Moses came down from the mountain and saw the Jews worshiping the golden calf, he took the tablets given to him by God and he just shattered them right then and there. It wasn't until many years later that God thanked him for shattering the tablets and therefore being able to still keep the bond between God and the Jewish people. Even though at the time he could have made an intellectual and logical argument, these are not mine, they belong to God, he just asked me to deliver them, I'm not involved, let me just do my mission, what right do I have to destroy something that is not mine? But yet, that impulsive behavior is held up as one of the greatest acts of heroism and protection of the Jewish people as a dear leader as a great shepherd to his flock. When we talk about David HaMelech, King David, we also find a very interesting story about impulsive behavior, also connected with the tablets. When David actually brought the Aron, the ark, to Jerusalem, we find it says there that he danced and he, in a sense, acted with crazy emotional dancing in the streets, reveling in the streets with the great excitement about bringing the ark into Jerusalem. When he came home, his wife, Michal, who was the daughter of King Saul, criticized him. How embarrassing it was for a king who's supposed to walk upright and in stride and in order was dancing with such, revealing himself in such a way that was totally disrespecting for a king. And we find that King David actually responded to her, I was doing so for God's honor and for God's joy, and I would do it again. It is that impulsive behavior, not thinking intellectually, and it's held up as a great honor for David's dedication, King David's dedication to the Torah and to God. And we find another interesting story about the Baal Shem Tov, also about this deep, impulsive action. And the story is told about how one year, Yom Kippur, the people saw how the Baal Shem Tov was davening, and he saw he was into his prayers so intensively, and he was crying, and he wouldn't stop praying, that all the people in the congregation knew that the Baal Shem Tov must see something happening in heaven, some heavy cloud that is resting upon the Jewish people for the coming year. So the more they saw him cry, the more they cried, and the whole synagogue was wailing with intensity, and it was coming to the close of Yom Kippur, and the Baal Shem Tov was still crying, and the congregation was crying. Apparently, whatever decree there was has not yet been lifted, and here we're about to seal Yom Kippur with this decree still hanging over the people. And during that time, a young farmer boy walked into the synagogue, not really understanding the situation. He sees all the people crying. He sees them with such intense fervor, involved in their prayers, that he gets emotionally involved. But being uneducated, never went to school, never knew how to read, never knew, the only thing he'd still, out of emotion of the moment, he started to crow like a chicken, and he started saying cockle-doodle-doo, or as some in other countries say cuckoo-coo, as the story is told. And he started crying that with his, and people tried to hush him, it's the Baal Shem Tov Shul, it's Yom Kippur, it's Ne'ilah, and you're just crowing like a chicken. But soon as that boy called out with his cuckoo-coo, the Baal Shem Tov face changed, he relaxed, he smiled, and they concluded their prayers. And he explained afterwards that everything that they did and tried to do during the prayers couldn't break through the decree in heaven. But this young farmer boy with sincerity of heart, not worrying about his surroundings, just that impulsive cry from his heart, that broke through in heaven all the decrees. And now we are blessed for the coming year with all the blessings that were needed. So we see once again how that impulsiveness is an integral part of the Jewish soul. And I can give you many examples that it's the impulsiveness that brought us to where we are today. That we have Israel today is because of the impulsive act, not the logical, calculated decision, but an impulsive act by the people of that time, and it's lasting to today, is based on that inner Jewish impulsive act, an emotional act of doing something, not necessarily if it logically makes sense, but because there's that drive that is coming from deep within the soul. And I just want to conclude with a teaching of the Rebbe about this idea about how Jews act impulsively and its benefit. You see, it is true and it is correct that intellectually speaking, there's no place for being willing to sign on the dotted line before hearing what it says. Intellectually, it makes no sense. But you know what? It's that which actually takes away the claim of the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. You see, if we approach things intellectually, the evil inclination can make an intellectual argument against it and get us to be able to commit sins or to commit things or refrain from doing things that we should be doing. But on the other hand, if we do things impulsively, a positive impulse, an impulse from coming from deep within our hearts of being committed to what we know is our soul's true yearning, there the evil inclination knows it doesn't have a foothold and will not succeed. So if you want to say, what is the message as we come to Shavuot, the holiday that we're facing now? We're going into the holiday of Shavuot, the holiday of God gave us the Torah, the holiday where we said Na'aseh v'nishma, and every year on this holiday we have to reenact the experience. It's not just something that happened a long time ago, but it's an energy that's happening now. If you want to say, Nike actually got it right. When you have an impulse to do a mitzvah, don't make calculations. Just do it. When we get a drive to do the right thing and we get that drive of the soul coming forth, let us resolve this Shavuos that from now on when that happens, we will just do it. We will follow it. Don't make calculations of rationality, because sometimes when we start with rationality, intellectual thinking, I've never done it before. What will my friends say? What will this one say? Who me? They think I'm a failure. Just do it. That is what we did at the first step at Mount Sinai. That is what we should do today. And that was the beginning of our journey. Let us hope through us acting that way, each and every one of us, just doing the things that we know is the true yearning of our soul. Let us hope we will merit to be the ones to cross the finish line at the end of the journey. Let this Shavuos, right now, we're going through a time that nobody could explain exactly. Everybody's been rattled in a way that we've never been rattled before. Things are so shaken up, and we're really receptive to many things that we've not been receptive to before. But as Jews, as we celebrate the holiday Shavuos, let us resolve that we're just going to do it, and we're going to let our soul come to the fore and rededicate ourselves and recommit to that which is important, to that which is Jewish, and let us hope in merited that in return. Let us be the ones also to end the journey, and let us merit that God take us out of this exile, and we celebrate the ultimate, the way Shavuos is really supposed to be celebrated, that we should all be able to celebrate in Jerusalem with the Holy Temple. May it be speedily in our days. Amen. Wishing you all a very happy Shavuos.